Hey, I'm back. Got too excited, I needed to make another one. So, this one is about my prediction for what's to come. And it's not really a prediction because I think everyone's kind of came to the same conclusion. The news has been covering it quite a lot. Is the current election. So, the most in likelihood, near inevitability, is that we're going to have a another minority government. It's in my prediction is that the Conservatives are going to win a minority lead over the Liberals, and with that lead is going to provoke the Liberals and the NDP to make another coalition again. But this coalition is going to be a little bigger than last time. Now, my takeaway on the details of this is that I feel like the Liberals aren't going to get the same amount of seats as they did last time. Maybe they pick up a couple. I don't. Maybe they will, but I know the Conservatives are going to pick up some seats. I know the Quebecois is losing seats. I know the NDP is gaining some seats, and the Green is probably going to remain with that one seat that they had last time. I think it was one. But what I see happening is that the Bloc Party is lost some seats, and those seats have all been delegated to those three other parties: the NDP, the Liberal, and the Conservatives. So if you add up the Bloc with the PPC and the Conservatives together, they're not going to be able to form government with that coalition against the NDP and Liberals alone. It's just not going to happen. I don't think. I will be pleasantly surprised. But I think this is what we're heading towards. I think by Tuesday, or maybe even later, we're going to find that we're in the same position as before, but the NDP have more seats. So what changed? So what was the point? We all know the transparency of why this election was called, even though the person that called it has been constantly denying it. He keeps saying, I want the Canadian people to have a voice. Well, the beauty about it is he's not wrong. We didn't want the vote. We didn't want it. But since he pushed it, now he gets to hear what Canada really wants. And it's not solely him. We're in a race right now where it's three parties making up a third. That's got to clearly show him that 2/3 of Canada don't want him. So this is what he's going to get for it. Buyer's remorse on his part, I believe. So why is this important? Well, this means that the NDP are going to have more leverage in decision making. They can push more pressure. Or we could find out that the NDP isn't that much different than the Conservatives and the Liberals, and they don't push for anything, and they just sign along. Speculation here. But my confidence is that we're going to have another coalition government by next month. And hopefully what we get out of this hassle is that we get a new form government that gets more done. Because everyone in Canada that knows anything about politics, when you mention a minority government, they're going to say things don't get done. Which actually is a little bit of a misnomer, because there's a lot of pressure in a minority government to get something done. That you don't want to lose votes from your base, so you work hard. So believe it or not, I believe that with minority governments, you do get more done. When you have majority governments and a lot of things that get done, to me, that's scary. I don't want even the party that I vote for to have a majority government, because I don't fully follow all of their policies. And if they have a majority government, then they're just going to plow through everything. I don't want things plowed through quickly. I really don't. I know we live in a society that things need to be now. But fast politics, honestly, is very scary. I read a lot of history out of passion and interest as a hobby, and Let me tell you from the history books, fast governments are some of the scariest points in human history. It's hard to appreciate a slow-moving government when there's things that need to be done now. So things need to be brought up to the table and discussed, but they also need to be pulled apart at the table. And that's why it's good to have as many parties as we do. I can come up with a million ideas, and I'll out myself, I don't vote conservative, but I want conservatives around to pull apart my ideas. I do. I really do. Because I want my ideas to be strong. I want them to succeed. And the only way to do that is to find out where all the weak points in the armor are. So this is why politics at a little bit of a slower rate is better for a country. It just is. What's hard is that while policies like this are being argued with petty arguments or what have you, is that people are getting sick or people are dying. Whether it's in a war or a pandemic or any other kind of catastrophe. I say in my other videos, life isn't perfect. And it's not. There's no such thing. So we've made that safe places for things to be fair. And that's good. That's good that we've done that. That's a interesting thing that humanity's created, is these safe places for fairness to rule. But we can't forget that we live in a realm, a world where it's not fair. Ask prey what they think about predators. Ask predators what they think about random injuries or parasites. It'll never end. So with this government, there's a good opportunity that we can march forward with some changes. Now, there's a lot of people that make money in industries that are owned by conservative-minded businessmen in Canada. So if you're a logger or a fisherman or any of these trades, your employer most often than not votes conservative. So think on this. If they don't have a conservative government, they make things hard for everyone. Then what? Then you get a whole bunch of people that don't like how hard things are when a liberal government is in office, or whatever, any opposing party. So then they double down on voting on conservative. But if they just understood that if they joined the rest and not voting that conservative party that holds the keys to that industry will have to change. And you're telling me that all those resources are just going to sit there because one company decides to cross their arms and that's it? No more logging, no more fishing because I'm going to shut it down? Every vacuum is filled with chaos after. And out of that chaos comes establishment. There was a vacuum in business, in transporting goods. There was. Remember growing up and looking at those Sears magazines and ordering? Well, Amazon came along and filled that vacuum. So with this election, I'm not anti-conservative. I just would like to see that party take on some policies that I like, because they do have policies that I do like. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not religious. So there's that part. And there's a lot of policies that are attached to that, believe it or not, but there are. So I just want change. So with that, this is a good opportunity for it. Nothing's perfect, and it's not fair, like I previously said. So we have to work with what we have. So if this is what we have, I hope we get the best out of it. I always hope for the best, but I try to be prepared for the worst. I try. I can't always be prepared for what life brings, but I can rely on myself to see myself through it the best way I can. but I have to accept that that's how life works, that it's a sliding scale of instability while being stable. It's a contradiction. So there's things that you can rely on, and there's things that will change at a moment's notice. That's why you get the contradiction. And I have done my best to accept that and have to remind myself to accept that when I forget. So this government is going to result in that manner. And what do we get out of it? I have no idea. I hope they do voter reform. I hope they reassess the medical plans that we have. I hope they assess all the government programs that are for people that are injured or disabled or unemployed. I don't want to be involved in any more forever wars. There's no point. We got to get out of all these places that we hand walked in with America. We got to walk out. The hardest thing that we got to do is succeed at home so places abroad can model themselves after us. So this needs to be a tighten up the belt. Needs to be a dusting off the shoulders, getting yourself looking in a respectable manner and performing respectably, so the rest of the world can be inspired and model themselves in the direction that we've taken ourselves. I'm not saying the Conservatives can't lead us to this area, but their track record is no different than any other parties, and that's not the only reason. But what it is that they're not showing that they're acknowledging that time is changing. We have to walk away from things. So what I was getting at earlier, if you're a fisherman or a logger or any of these industries that have these conservative employers, just understand that you're in a country that has the opportunity to switch your trade. You'll still be driving truck. You'll still be operating some equipment like a forklift or whatever it is that you do, being on that boat, but there's just going to be a slight difference. We could be a energy superpower, and all these people that work in these industries could be the people that are working in these new industries. Change is always difficult and it is scary, but who mourns the horse rancher that went out of business when the car came? We cannot ignore and disbelieve that the future's coming. It's coming at us like a freight train. So if you have these jobs like fishing and whatnot, logging and oil, the left isn't trying to take your job away. They want to give you a new one. They know you work hard. They know this is the life that you chose. The only thing that they want to do is just slap a different company name on your uniform if you have one. Slap a different company name on the side of your truck that you drive. The fact that your truck might go from gas or diesel to electric or something else. Point being is that we are moving forward because the future is coming at us. It's coming at us at a breakneck speed. Technology is the fastest evolving industry or aspect of human life. There's nothing that moves faster. And to deny that is to deny that there is a sun or that there is a clouds in the sky or anything like that. We got to acknowledge the reality of the world that we live in. And when you have a party that wants to slow everything down and continue to pull coal from the ground, I know that's keeping a roof over your head. But at the exact same time, we got to acknowledge the fact that we're walking away from it. We are in transition now. If you are running around protesting, no one's buying my horses because the car is here, well, that's not acknowledging reality. You got to acknowledge reality. You got to understand that nothing is guaranteed. A billionaire can lose all their money and go out of work. They don't deserve to be bailed out. If someone had a couple grand and they had a minimum wage job and then the car broke down and their apartment building burnt down and they don't get bailed out. It's a shame. Maybe they didn't have insurance, so they're definitely not getting bailed out. No insurance, there's no government programs to help pick you up. The only thing left for you is a GoFundMe. That should be the exact same thing that's left for that billionaire that loses it all on a bet going in a direction with their company, thinking this is the wave of the future. They deserve to fall just like the people at the very bottom. So if you have these industry jobs, you have to understand that there is a going in a new direction is the amount of jobs that are going to be created out of there is going to be an overabundance. Like there was in the 1950s after World War II, there was an overabundance of jobs. I remember hearing from my dad that when he was a young kid, before he was even 10, the society was, if you didn't like your job, you can flip your boss off and walk across the street and get another job. We haven't had that since the 60s. The 70s started to tighten up. The 80s, there was that soft recession, stock market crash, and then again in the 2000s, early 2000s. And that abundance of jobs hasn't been there since then. We're looking at 60 years now. It hasn't been like that. So how many generations is that removed from that reality? So if you think that working at, the oil flats out on the ocean, like your time's up, absolutely not. Absolutely, you have a wealth of knowledge and experience in working that can be applied to windmills, solar farms, farming, new style of farming where you're not out on a farm in open air, that you're in a building with 6 floors, and it's an internal farm. There is going to be so much work to choose from that you're going to be completely you're going to have the capability to do. Like, you're going to be already experienced in a lot of ways. And if you know how to use your phone, you're going to know how to use the technology that's going to come with these new jobs. So in essence, there's no excuse. There's just fear. And that's fine. I'm not calling anyone out in a negative way for being afraid. I'm afraid almost every day. So if you're afraid, you're with me. I get it. But maybe you're not reading what I'm reading. Maybe I'm not reading what you are. I can easily do that. But from my perspective, from what's coming, I'm just looking at inevitability. The future is now, and it's coming. So with this election, I think that there's massive possibility that Canada can go from a second-tier country to a first-tier country and lead the way. But we gotta believe that this is the future as a whole. This election has to show that these politicians are not covering the whole of us, that there's a third of the country that likes a part of what the NDP is about, that there's a third of this country that likes what partially the Liberals are about. There's a third of the country that does the same thing with the Conservative Party. And there's always going to be radicals on the left and on the right, and that's why you got the Green and the PPC or what have you. This is good that we have that many parties. This is good that we have the voices on the far ends as well as close to the middle. We need more discussion. We need less bickering on our neighbors. And the big thing that I hope happens is that these political parties start taking other competing parties' platforms. Like if the Liberals say that they stand on this policy and they're going to push it forward, whatever that policy is, every other party should look at that policy and see if within their own party, if that's popular. If it is, steal it without any hesitation, without any remorse. Take a good idea. Just because it comes from a competitor doesn't mean it's a bad idea. Like, do you think the top 10 runners of the world all do something drastically different than each other in their training? No, they all do mostly the same thing, but they'll have a few things that are different that they believe are the winning part of the ticket. So that's what we got to do with our political parties, and that's what I hope that comes out of this election, is that they realize that the country is not torn in half. It's in pieces. It's in pieces, and the only way to put it back together again, I think, is by coming together and realizing that, like myself, I don't identify as any political party member. I do not. I am a mercenary with voting. So I want this election to show that. I want these politicians to realize that they all failed because they don't want to represent the whole. They don't. They want to represent this niche, and they want to tear down their neighbors. I don't want that. Canada is not that. That's not the country I live in. I know I've had friends of every walk of life, religious, not religious, heavy into politics, don't even want to look at politics, steep, like heavy in the presence or way off in La La Land. Like, I've got friends of all walks of life, and I don't cut them out because they're different than me. It's that difference that has to be the thing that brings us together instead of pushes us apart. There is nothing wrong with disagreeing. It's just that when you emotionally attach to that disagreement, you're going to end up like the United States with this split down the middle, and every issue is emotional. Most of these issues shouldn't even be emotional at all. They should just be like simple logic and rational thinking. But that's not where we are right now. And we can't get there without mending the wounds, and we can't mend the wounds until they're recognized, and they're not recognized until, I think, this end result comes out. So that's my 2 cents about this election coming. I think not much is going to change in the sense of how it shakes out, but this next 4 years could have a possibility of getting more done. I don't like the overspending, but I think my issue isn't that what they're spending. My issue is what is never talked about with spending. The bloated budgets in a lot of areas within the government that are too much, that shouldn't be as high as they are. Too many committees, too many bureaucratic divisions within the government to slow things down. I know I said I don't like a fast government, but at the exact same time, think of our government like a computer. Every new branch and every new department that does not communicate with each other, but yet are all under the umbrella of the government, all take money from the pie, and they slow things down, and they don't want to play ball with each other. But they are like a new window in your computer. Like, how many windows can you have open before your computer slows down? 3, 4, 10? Can you have 10 windows open in your computer before it slows down? Well, that's the government. I don't want a small government. I just want more information in less windows. So I would like all these departments that are all singular to all fall into one big department where they all have to work together and talk to each other. So you, the voter, don't have to talk with one branch of the government, then get off the phone with them, get on the line with another branch of the government, because they won't talk to each other. So I want to eliminate that. So overspending. There's things that need to be spent, money that needs to be spent for sure. There's things in life that is unavoidable. But to look under the carpet and see where a lot of wasted money is something I'm highly interested in. I think there's a lot of bloat in the government. So if we eliminated a lot of bloat, and then we also combined a lot of departments into one department, you're going to free up some money. And you're going to free up some money, and with that you won't have to spend as much. So that is what I'm after, and not one of them really stood up and said that loud and proud. So that's why I'm a mercenary, and I hope more mercenary voting results in the fact that these politicians realize that a majority government is a way of the past, because they're not willing to represent the whole. So if you made it this far, thank you very much. If I offended you, this is just rambling. Please don't be offended. This is speculation. But thank you for watching all the way to the end if you have. I hope you've already voted with the advanced voting. If you haven't, I hope you safety when you go and do, and I encourage you to do. This is a lot of people don't want to vote, and they want this not vote to be a protest not vote. I highly recommend that you do it anyway. You do it anyway. Throw it into the green, throw it into the PPC. Let the high ups in the Canadian government scratch their head with, I don't understand what's going on. They need to realize how detached from reality they are, that they don't represent the whole. So please, I encourage you to vote. And thank you for watching the video. And I hope you have a great day, and see you next time. Okay.